What's up? What's going on? Hide and read. This is a response video. Kind of. Alright. This is in response to Kevin Toll over at Kevin Toll Reads. I'll link the video. And his question is let me know number 20. He has 20 of these let me know videos where he puts up a question prompt just asking people in general what they think about a subject, and so it gives me free reign to come on here and ramble a bit about a subject I've been thinking about a little bit lately, and I wasn't really sure how to talk about this, but now we can use the framework of let me know number 20, and the topic is, are classics still relevant? Okay, so we're gonna talk about something along those lines. So because of course classics are still relevant. Yeah, that's why they're classics, in my opinion. Classics, when it comes to literature, classic literature, are books or poems, are relevant through time, and their relevance goes across different cultural boundaries and, different geographies and, like we said, time. So these kind of works of literature are, dare I say, relevant to large groups of people. They continue to be relevant, and after you read one of these classics, a lot of times they stick around. I think many times we read something that's very impactful to us in the moment, like we're like stuck on the page and we can't tear ourselves away from the book, and once we finish the book we're like, wow, that was excellent. The plot points, the writing, the action scenes, everything was amazing. But maybe a year, 2 years, even a month later, we've already forgotten about the book. It doesn't leave us with any sort of questions, nothing really to ruminate on. Classic literature is not that. Classic literature brings up some of the bigger questions in life, and doesn't have all the answers. It brings up the questions basically, and we're left to debate, discuss, and ponder, and did I already say ruminate on some of these topics. So I always bring this up because this is my personal favorite classic literature. Brothers Karamazov, Dostoevsky, and like I said, a lot of times we really enjoy reading something, but that doesn't make it a classic. Or we find something very easy to read, and we're just enthralled by the experience of reading the book, but that doesn't necessarily make it a classic. And I like to use this example a lot because I think I began reading this book maybe maybe 4 times before I was able to finish. I don't really, personally, I don't think about DNF. Did not finish because there's always a chance to pick something back up and finish it. Sometimes you're just not ready, or the timing isn't correct, or what have you. So, yeah, this was one of those books, and since even when I DNF'd it those times, I was still thinking about the different, like, it was still stuck in my brain. Like there's something there that I haven't really come to grips with yet. And then finishing the book, there's lots of things too that I just, I can't even put into words. And then also, maybe even listening to music or seeing art or watching a movie or just day-to-day experiences, different subjects will remind me of reading Brothers Karamazov and the events in Brothers Karamazov, and what was Dostoevsky what was he hinting at? What was he trying to get our attention towards? And to me, these are all kind of indicators and hallmarks of classic literature. And it's not that somebody sat down and is like, I'm going to make the most profound piece of literature that is going to make people think. And we have lots of stuff like that. I don't want to put any books into like a negative light, but I think some books that are written to be important to impress the reader, like you have stuff like Infinite Jest, where it's kind of clear that the way that it's written is to kind of stimulate that intellect. But books like Brothers Karamazov, or a lot of the Charles Dickens stuff, just and Shakespeare too, it's written for the general public. A lot of times they're for like the Playhouse, or they're for the newspaper, and it's released in a serial form, and it's not necessarily something that is for intellectuals. It's a lot of times it's for the people, and I think that's why a lot of these books of classic literature are so endearing, and they pass the test of time. Brothers Karamazov, I think that's a good example of that. And this year I really want to get around to reading, this is a lot different but also kind of similar, and then we'll tie the two together. I really want to read Augustine, City of God. But there's another big chunky one. This is philosophy, and this is inarguably a work of classic literature. There's a lot of context behind both of these books. So they're relevant even before their time, if that makes any sense. Like the questions and the topics that come up, it's like timeless. Like people will always be kind of grappling with these concepts, and they're enduring through time. And so I wanted to read City of God, and I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and how am I going to do this, because I could just go through it and read the words cover to cover. That's one way to do it, but there's so many concepts and so much background information, and then also looking forward into time, there's a lot of relevance in that book. So it's just good to have context, basically, like what happened after the book, what happened before it. And the more stuff like that we learn about these pieces of classic literature, the more impactful that they become. So in order to get the most out of my first reading of City of God, if I'm blessed enough to be able to read it twice, that'd be great. I'm going through, I was gonna read just like the epistles of St. Paul. If you guys don't know what City of God is, it's more or less the cornerstone of Christian philosophy. Just shortly, I was gonna read the epistles of St. Paul and Acts of the Apostles. So I sat down to read Acts, and then realized, well, I have to read the Gospel of Luke, and I have to understand the Gospel of Luke in order to read Acts, because Acts is basically part 2 of the Gospel of Luke, which made me realize I don't have nearly enough context to just jump right to City of God. So now I'm going through that, the epistles and the Gospel of Luke, and then to help me understand what I'm reading, so that when I get to City of God, I'll understand the references better. I'm also reading a commentary along with it. This is like a more like evangelical commentary, so it doesn't deal so much with the mystical aspects, but more of just like we were saying, the context of the books in the Bible. I think this is pretty good, to be honest. It's kind of plain, but... And so while I'm doing that, I'm also realizing, well, once I understand better this Christian philosophy, I'm going to have a better grip on the things that Dostoevsky is grappling with in Brothers Karamazov. So, like, the more you invest in the classics, the deeper and more rich and more kind of consuming that they become. Whereas sometimes if we read just kind of these surface level books, which there's nothing wrong with, if you watch the channel, you know that I love reading just kind of like pulpy stuff, and I think that has its place and its value. I don't suggest anybody go without doing that. You're unbalanced, in my opinion, if you're not doing both. A lot of those books are more surface level, and they're kind of just like food. Like, we need different kinds of food, you know? Like, some things you are heavier, you know, and some things are lighter, and there's a time and place for both of them. But I think a reading diet without classic literature, you are going to be starving almost. You know, it's almost like if you just wanted to eat, you know, we compare a lot of this Pulp Fiction to junk food a lot of the time, fairly or unfairly, but it's similar to that, where if you're just only consuming that, you're not getting a full meal, so to speak. And probably the same thing with these classic works of literature. Like, if you ever met somebody that is only interested in that and doesn't do any sort of like more loose fiction reading, it becomes very obvious, in my opinion, the way that they digest the classics is not ideal. I don't think that like stuffy intellectual people get the most out of reading the classics, in my opinion. I just don't. I see the way that they talk about it, and it's not fulfilling, in my opinion. But yeah, in a roundabout way, this has been an answer to Kevin Tolle's what is it? I forget the name of the videos, but you'll see him in the description. He's on number 20 of these question prompts. That's pretty impressive in itself. So yeah, if you hung around, you like hearing me talk about books, you like a purple light in the background, you like hearing this brass bell, hit the subscription. That's the bell. And until next time, find somewhere to hide, find something to read. Peace.